It is truly, truly over. The fiat system, the American dollar, is dying as we know it. Now that's the bad news. The good news is that the public right now has the opportunity to get involved in the new deflationary system. So in today's video, I'm going to break down the unsuspecting things that you are not paying attention to. I'm going to share with you inflationary, the US dollar, and the deflationary thing like Bitcoin and gold, something that's happening behind the scenes that most of the general public's not paying attention to because they're distracted, excuse me. There's not some big grand conspiracy. Money changes forms over and over and over again. In the Roman days, they had us drunk in the Colosseum as a Trojan horse came in. They were clipping our coins, and the first annuity insurance was created in the Roman days. What's lasted the test of time? Precious metals, real estate, insurance. There's four things that you need to pay attention to. You need to learn how to create cash flow. Cash is not king. Cash flow is king. You need to learn how to appreciate that cash, okay, and deflationary assets. You need to learn how to protect, and you need to learn about leverage because that's what America's doing. That's what China is doing. That's what the largest asset managers in the world are doing. Hence Bitcoin, gold's price going up. So I'm going to explain to you at a very simplistic level on how we became millionaires in this asset class and how we became millionaires outside of the asset class, understanding the US dollar is inflationary. And if you don't beat 2% inflation every single year, you're going to become poor. And I'm going to share with you why America and why China is number one and number two in Bitcoin. Okay, so let's start there. In the next two videos, next 2 days are going to be really important. This channel is all about stoicism, not emotion, taking the conspiracy out of it and saying, hey, this has to change. Since 1971, the US dollar's collapsed dramatically. The wealth gap has become massive. In 2008, we went through one of the biggest financial collapses in history. And in 2009, Bitcoin was created. And ironically now, Bitcoin is the solve for the broken monetary system. China has almost 300% debt to income ratio. They're buried in debt. They're printing like crazy and they're weakening the yuan on purpose. Okay. America is at 130% debt to income ratio. We have more debt than we have income. They're going to turn the printing machine on full blast, lowering interest rate and hurting the unsuspecting public who stores their money in cash. Cash is trash. Cash flow is king, excuse me. Now you're going to see why. What I'm going to show you today is why America is number one holder in Bitcoin and China is number two holder in Bitcoin. And you're going to see why gold is at an all-time high and why gold over the next 2 days is being accumulated and Bitcoin is being accumulated quietly behind the scenes as the unsuspecting public stores their money in inflationary assets like the US dollar and the yuan. The system will end up with Bitcoin and XRP number one and number two, deflationary assets. Okay, so that's what we're going to break down today. On the back end of every video, I share with you exactly what I'm doing. Okay, we have to get out of the emotion, we have to get out of the hype and understand what is happening. It's just a switch from a fiat broken system, which is fake money. Okay, there's no backing to the US dollar, there's no backing to the yuan. That's why they're stacking gold. That's why gold prices are at an all-time high. And that's why Bitcoin has now become the biggest conversation globally. And America's number one, and China is number two, and BlackRock is the number one holder in Bitcoin. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to show you is Cynthia Lummis's The Bitcoin Act is the only solution to the nation's 36 trillion debt. Remember what I just told you? America's at 130% debt to income ratio. China is at over 300%. They want to weaken the yuan. They want to weaken the dollar because now they're set in the new system and they are quietly behind the scenes in dark pools, accumulating massive amounts of Bitcoin. 95% of the supply is gone. What they're going to do is they're going to suck up all that supply and the unsuspecting public. There's going to be no middle class. There's going to be very, very wealthy that went into deflationary assets. They're going to put it on the balance sheet and monetize the balance sheet. Okay. As you sit in the unsuspecting dollar and get crushed. Okay. The Bitcoin Act is the only solution for the 36 trillion debt. I'm grateful to move forward into thinking with President. Let's have her explain it.
I'm particularly pleased with President Trump's support of my strategic Bitcoin reserve initiative, which will address our national debt while securing America's position as the global leader in financial innovation. As Bitcoin comes into more usage, its use makes the whole system more secure, more robust, and more capable of serving our needs all over the world. We should be the global leader with this fantastic new ledger-based asset that is in a digital format that is going to be transformative of everyday economy and puts the everyday American, in fact, the everyday worker all over the world in control of their own money.
If they're buying it, if they're paying attention to it.
What a wonderful blessing for hardworking people all over the world to have this great new technology and to have America lead the way in implementing this wonderful, wonderful innovation.
Okay, well, that I do agree with her with that. Okay, I do agree. But the fact is, the American public is buried trying to survive. They're not paying attention to this. Only 5% of the population has exposure to cryptocurrency, more in America. But listen to this. So Cynthia Loomis says President Trump supports her strategic reserve bill to buy 1 million Bitcoin. The governments are going to suck up this supply.
I'm particularly pleased with President Trump's support of my strategic Bitcoin reserve initiative, which will address our national debt while securing America's position as the global leader in financial innovation. As Bitcoin comes into more usage, its use makes the whole system more secure, more robust, and more capable of serving our needs all over the world. We should be the global leader with this fantastic new ledger-based asset.
Okay, so that's what's going to happen. This isn't pie in the sky. This isn't conspiracy. This is happening, guys. They are accumulating Bitcoin behind the scenes. They're accumulating XRP behind the scenes. They're accumulating Solana behind the scenes. They're accumulating ADA behind the scenes. They're accumulating ETH behind the scenes, right? We can't see this stuff. I don't think the supply is what we think it is. There's going to be a supply shock at some point. Okay, Bitcoin Magazine posted this: the money printing machine is coming. So what they have to do is they're going to turn on the printing machine. They're going to lower interest rates, which is going to make cryptocurrency assets go up. China's is printing. China's buried in debt. America's buried in debt. They're going to turn the printing machine on and they're going to monetize. They're going to move their printed money into deflationary assets. The American public is going to buy bigger houses, nicer cars, TVs, nicer phones, which pumps money into the economy. And the wealthy are going to move their money into deflationary assets and are going to monetize the balance sheet and become some of the wealthiest families in the world.
Fast forward to today, and even with new austerity efforts, federal spending hasn't slowed. The US is still bleeding dollars, running massive deficits, and weaponizing tariffs as a short-term solution to a long-term debt problem. And that's exactly why Ray Dalio is sounding the alarm.
And I'm worried about something worse than a recession if this isn't handled well. A recession is 2 negative quarters of GDP, and whether it goes slightly there, we always have those things. We have something that's much more profound. We have a breaking down of the monetary order. We are going to change the monetary order.
Pay attention.
Because we cannot spend the amounts of money, so we have that problem.
So why should you care?
Why should you care? Why should you care? Because this is your hard-earned money. You trade time for money away from your family, and what they're doing is they're stuffing their money in real estate, Bitcoin, gold, insurance, as your unsuspecting monetary system pays you in debt. Okay, this is Kathy Woods. I highly recommend you follow Ray Dalio, Kathy Woods. Stay out of the emotion. Okay, she talks about gold. Gold and Bitcoin are going to be the biggest conversations. Bitcoin is going to explode on the back end of this year. And what's going to happen is this is the time right now, guys. This is the time. I'm stacking as much Bitcoin as I can and as much XRP as I can. Okay, because the back end of this year, when they lower interest rates and turn on that printing machine, you better get ready.
And then finally, always like to talk about Bitcoin to gold. And again, gold going parabolic did take this ratio down. But you'll notice that it did not break the uptrend that is in place and that we think will remain in place. Bitcoin did act more as a risk-off asset. A risk-on asset in the market's recent correction. It behaved like the NASDAQ, unlike gold. But we believe that it was just correcting to this trend line because the Bitcoin price went up so much more than the gold price last year. So we think that this trend line will continue to move up if we're right that we're moving back into a risk-on environment. Now, the gold, why did gold?
It's important. What she's saying, and simplifying that, is Bitcoin's going to go up like crazy. Okay. So this is Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. We went from Tweety Bird, right? You remember what was her name? Janet Yellen, to Bitcoin is becoming a store of value. Okay.
Why is gold moving around the world in such huge quantities right now?
Important, guys.
Well, a couple of things. It's moving. Physically, it's moving because of potential tariffs here. So, it was unclear whether we were going to exempt gold from tariffs, which I believe we have. So there was a big move out of vaults in Switzerland, out of vaults in London to get it into New York. And look, that there are a lot of different stores of value over time. Bitcoin's becoming a store of value. Gold has historically been a store of value. I think what's interesting is, where do we see the gold demand coming from? A huge amount is from China.
Yes.
Where they, as I said, they're in the middle of an economic recession/depression. People don't trust the Chinese currency because they have capital controls. There are 1.4 billion Chinese who all want to get their money out, and they won't let them. They will let them buy gold.
Okay. They'll let them buy gold, and America and China are the top two holders in Bitcoin. Okay. Satoshi, BlackRock, Grayscale, so MicroStrategy, Strategy B. BlackRock is one of the top three holders in MicroStrategy, Strategy B, which is a Bitcoin treasury now. Okay. And then you have America and China are the top two countries.
I want crypto. I think crypto is important because if we don't do it, China's going to.
Mm-hmm.
And it's new. Mm-hmm. It's very popular. Mm-hmm. It's very hot. If you look at the market, when the market went down, that stayed much stronger than other aspects of the market.
Important.
But I want crypto because a lot of people, millions of people want it. I don't know if you know that Biden went after it violently, and then before the election, he changed his tune entirely. His head of the SEC, everybody changed their tune. You know why? Because there were hundreds of millions of people that are participating in crypto.
Okay, so this is important. Now, why did it switch? The old monetary system, the old governmental structure, the left, whatever you want to call it. This is just facts. We went from a system that was politicians running the government that were getting paid, right, to business people. Let's just think about Trump as a businessman. What does he own, guys? A shit load of real estate. Okay. Lowering interest rates and turning the printing machine on helps him dramatically. Okay. The reason why his family's fully getting into cryptocurrency and blockchain technology and Bitcoin specifically is because now we can monetize that. So I'll share with you exactly how I did it at a personal level. This is governmental, but at a personal level, this is what I did. Okay. From 2020 to 2022, I was like, this is crazy. And you're about to go through this on the back end of 2025 when crypto just goes parabolic. I was like, this is unnatural, man, for something to go up that fast, because the market cap is so thin and people come rushing in, right? And there's huge amounts of growth that we can go through. Okay. We're still in speculation and regulation. So 2020 to 2022, cryptocurrency shot up. And there's four things I focus on: cash flow, not storing cash flow, appreciation, protection, and leverage. At first, I was indoctrinated. It was like, oh, I want cash. I want more money. I want more money. Why would I want more of the US dollar that is inflating every single year? So when I learned that through Richest Man in Babylon, Think and Grow Rich, the rich cash flow quadrant, Ray Dalio's Changing World Order, and I started to study inflationary versus deflationary, every time I get paid in American dollars, I transmute it into something that's going to appreciate, that's going to protect, and that I can leverage. Okay, that's exactly what the US government's doing. So Bitcoin, I started accumulating in 2023. Okay, I had my own little narrative on it. So XRP, I've been collecting since 2020. Okay, I'm holding Bitcoin forever as a treasury. Okay, we have an XRP treasury and a Bitcoin treasury for our company and at a personal level, my family. I treat my family like a corporation. Okay, I have many other cryptocurrencies, but those are my top two crypto. XRP is number one, Bitcoin's number two. Okay, I'm holding Bitcoin as a treasury. I have my insurance as my family bank. So we have family bank for insurance, cash value life insurance, and I have a Bitcoin bank. Okay, every time I get paid by the inflating US dollar, I become poorer every single time I get paid and someone else is dead. I transmute that every day into Bitcoin and XRP. Okay, I buy some every single day, just a little bit, nothing crazy. Every Wednesday and Friday when I get paid, there's a couple things that I do. Number one, I look at the markets. Can I buy the dip? Is there a dip that I can buy in regards to Bitcoin and XRP? Okay, so I'm buying every day and then I can buy the dips. I also put my money into things that pay me cash, dividend ETF strategies. So I give myself a pay raise every Wednesday and Friday because cash flow is king. With the cash flow monthly from the dividends, I de-risk back into Bitcoin and XRP, creating my family's treasury to continue to grow. So every single day, my treasury is getting bigger. Every single month, my treasury is getting bigger for my family. Okay, that's deflationary. Then I have my family insurance strategy. So my premiums that go out every single month into my multiple policies and cash value life insurance. So every month, my family bank is increasing on this side. I can leverage against it if I want to. I have a family bank against the cash value. It's protected. If the markets collapse, my money is insured. And I'm compounding every 7 years at around 10%, depending on the markets. But if the markets collapse, my money is insured. And I also have death benefit and legacy for my family. So I have an insurance bank, have a Bitcoin bank. Okay. Then every single month, our treasury is getting bigger for our family. Then when we need something, for example, I just bought an insurance firm. I went to my Bitcoin bank, I borrowed, didn't sell a dime of my Bitcoin. I bought my insurance firm. Insurance firm is paying back the loan in the next 12 months. And then all my Bitcoin will be back 100% LTV. And then I have a cash generating asset for legacy. All I'm doing is I'm just transmuting energy. That's it. That's all that we're doing. We're moving energy back and forth. That's all that's happening right now. Okay. The system goes back and forth. Okay. The system is deflationary, inflationary. They got us drunk in the Colosseum during the Roman days. They were clipping our coins. The system, it's just debt. Money just moves back and forth. And now it's transmuting into digital debt, digital monetary system. So they're going to put Bitcoin on the balance sheet, okay, which is deflationary, a fixed supply, which is going to shrink the balance sheet because they can do a couple things, okay? Bitcoin is going to increase in value, which is going to shrink the balance sheet. If you have something on your balance sheet as a family, when your value increases, your debt to income ratio rebalances. Then they can monetize, like I did. I monetized my Bitcoin, borrowed from it. I bought another asset. So now our government can do that with the strategic or the sovereign wealth fund. They can borrow against the asset and they can buy cash generating assets, hence creating cash flow to pay down the monetary system and the debt. That's all that's happening. So do you see how there's just energy is transferring around the system? And you have to ask yourself, what energy are you receiving? If you're receiving cash every single day and you're not paying yourself first, you're not saving first and spending last, then you're screwed. You're on the wrong side of the coin. You're on the wrong side of the cash flow quadrant. That's why we're in literally an enslaved system. So the unsuspecting public right now is just trying to survive. And there's never been a time where the unsuspecting public can get involved in Bitcoin, XRP, Solana, all these different things. But you shouldn't ask yourself what to invest in. You should understand why you're investing. I know why every single dime is going out. And that's how I became a millionaire in this asset class and a millionaire outside of the asset class. I share with you exactly what I did. That's it. So every single day I'm not buying Lambos and big houses and watches and Rolexes and all that stuff. I'm buying things that protect my family, that protect my ecosystem. And that if we get into a pickle or some type of thing, we can monetize the debt or we can monetize the balance sheet, right? We did it for our company. We created a Bitcoin treasury and XRP treasury, and our wealth for our company, there was a 19% inflation from 2020 to 2024. We were monetizing our balance sheet by buying assets that are deflationary. And we beat inflation, not only with our company's profits, but we also put it into things like Bitcoin and XRP, increasing our treasury. So that's what I deploy my companies to as a CEO. I deployed my company. I created an investment team to make sure that every single time we get paid, we're being responsible with our profits, and we're putting it into things that we can continue to grow and compound, and then we can monetize the balance sheet if we need to. So if we get into a pickle or something, I don't know, the pickle, is that it's a funny word. We get into a pickle, we can actually go to our Bitcoin treasury or XRP treasury and borrow tax-free to keep the companies going. So we don't have to let team members go. We can build efficiencies, things like that. So a lot of info. If you're still here, comment warrior down there, you're a true warrior. But I want to share with you guys a couple things happening right now. On my TikTok, you'll see it's kind of back and forth. So we're I think a lot of influencers are going through this. There's someone attacking our TikTok right now, so that might be gone this week. That's okay. We diverse. That's why diversification is important. We diversified in social media too. So TikTok is actually one of our lowest performing accounts now. So which is that's the beauty of diversification. I diversify in social, I diversify in business, I diversify my asset classes, and so never rely on one aspect. So that's a very important lesson, and that's why I'm super calm about it. So if you see Coach JV _ it's my only TikTok. It might be taken down. We're being under attack right now and being reported, which is totally fine. We'll get it back. So if you see that go away, we'll have it back up and running. But these are my only ecosystems right here. We do not invest people's crypto. We don't have a trading platform. Okay. I have my Coach JV Academy. You'll see it right here in the description down below. It's called the 3T Warrior Academy. We've helped 11,300 people worldwide get their shit together. All the stuff I just talked about, we teach it. I also have a free section on my YouTube channel here in this YouTube where I teach everything I'm doing. I peel back the curtain. Also, if you'd like to set an appointment with my licensed insurance team to teach you how we use cash value life insurance to bank on ourselves, to protect our family, to compound, to leverage, right? Creating that family bank. We can teach you cash value life insurance. We can teach you how to protect your family, protect your wealth. That is a free consultation. So that's all in my bio. You'll see all these things there. And then, yeah, I think that's all I got for you guys. So I love you guys. I appreciate you. As we always say, warriors, rise, get your shit together. Let's go.